really spit that real. I'm about to check it out. Santil, look. When I want competition, I just look in the mirror. With every word that I'm spitting, then the vision is clearer. Nobody touching what I'm clutching, plus I'm busting it first. Yes, your chest will be a mess by the end of the verse. Your body stretched out like a book on the pavement. People pass by as they look in amazement. Your body leaking your genetics, got you looking so pathetic. No need to call the paramedics, it's too late for anesthetics. Me and my microphone. 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 Coming out the dirty south, show everybody I'm the cleanest. Run your mouth, I send your body to the cleaners. Love my mic, so can't nobody come between us. Won't be nice for anybody wanna see us. Back up a little, just a couple of feet. You don't listen, you'll be missing just a couple of teeth. Hard to buy the rhyme, with no teeth in your mouth. Stepping out of line, then we sweeping them out. Me and my microphone. 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 My mic got jealous when I was talking to my girlfriend. So you know, it's like I'm caught up in a whirl when I'm not about the drama. I don't need that. Started yelling and all I heard was feedback. Said I need to choose, but do it quickly. Use a tool, you fool if you don't pick me. Since she made me choose, you know I left her to pick my microphone up off the dresser. Me and my microphone. 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 Me and my mic been tight since 9-5. She don't wanna go out, she stay at home and vibe. Ain't nothing without her, I doubt she'll understand. Gets upset so I can't make no plans. Wants me to herself, she is so obsessed. When I go to sleep I can't not get no rest. Calling off my phone when I'm gone too long. Says to her, be home, she wants to make a song. Me and my microphone. 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 This microphone can't wait to get you in my arms and my palms. And when we home alone, it is gonna be on. You make the words to my song sound strong. When I'm with you, baby, I can do no wrong. Can't wait to get you in my arms and my palms. And when we home alone, it is gonna be on. You make the words to my song sound strong. When I'm with you, baby, I can do no wrong. You know I had to do it. I had to take it back. Dedicate this to everybody out there that's doing music. Whether you're getting paid for it or not, it don't even matter. As long as you love it, I know it's gonna love you back. Put your microphones up. Put them up. Much love to all the rappers that paved the way for people like me. All the producers. Rest in peace to all everybody that's dead and gone. That's fast. Keep rapping till I'm dead and get paid for it. Matter of fact, bury me with my microphone. Yeah, I'm fast, huh? Yeah, I love you too. Okay. Microphone check. Check. Can I take it back? I love my mic. And my mic loves me. Only truth.
What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I am back with another episode of Straight Talk Sessions, live here on YouTube. Can I get a mic check real quick just to make sure that you guys can hear me before I go too far? All I need is a mic check. All right, I know I could be heard. All right, we have a very important show tonight. Michael, you can hit the panel later if you want to. Pretty interested to hear what you got to say about this. We have a very important show tonight. I talked about this last night, and it's one of those things that we need to start talking about. We've been quiet too long, and I feel like it's now becoming a pandemic, with what's happening. So I mentioned it last night that I'm not going to be alone because you guys have heard me talk about her since I started going live over here. When I say that I have a friend that is awesome at what she does, she is a marriage and family therapist, a legit one. So I'm only bringing you real people. I'm not bringing you quacks over here that try to act like they have something that they don't. We got legit people that you can pull their credentials up on this side over here. So I'm going to bring her in real quick. But tonight, the name of the show tonight is We Must Protect Our Children. So obviously, that's going to be centered around children. And there's been an alarming amount of misconduct with teachers or adults in position of authority when it comes to minors. So let me bring my guest in before I go further. So joining the live with me is Dr. Mia. How are you?
Hello, Trevor. Hello, hey. Straight Talk Society. Hello.
So now I've been talking you up forever, man. Like, so I promise the society though, she's going to deliver. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas you guys know me as the guy that just talks, I just come on here and I'll just
set it up. Somebody got to be there to set it up.
Yeah, I'll just talk about things and be like, oh, let's kill them all. But she'll reel me back in and be like, no, Trevor, you have to look at the other side of things like this. And me, Dr. Mia, and Michael, we have a group where we banter around a bunch of ideas and things like that. So now I'm so happy that now it's coming to fruition now where we could give you guys that behind the scenes stuff that we've been talking about for seemingly a year or so. So first off, let me I just want to set this up real quick. So it's a story that was sent to me and I just lost it, but hold on, I'm going to pull it right up. First of all, introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Well, Straight Talk Society, my name is Dr. Mia. I am a marriage and family therapist and also a psychotherapist. I have my master's degree in marriage and family therapy and my psychology degree, my doctorate's degree in psychology. I do have my own practice. I see and I work with families. It's called A New Way. And I tell people therapy is not something I just chose. It kind of like chose me because Haitian girl, my immigrant from a, impoverished nation, and everything about my life screams trauma, screams hurt, screams pain. And so in understanding that hurt people, I had to do my work. In order for me to be a viable contributor to this society and be good for my kids and my significant other, I had to do my work. So I am employing everybody under the sound of my voice. Do your work. Don't come for nobody unless you've done your work.
Y'all heard that. All right. So earlier in the week, it was either earlier in the week or late last week, I was sent a story. And the headline was a 31-year-old Colorado woman who admits to having sex with a 13-year-old middle schooler and having his baby won't face any jail time under plea deal. So let's go there because I could always already hear the disgust
It's the
in,
deep sigh, right? We're
in
not
your
gonna say
voice.
disgust.
So first of all, we have a 31-year-old person of authority is what they call her. So this 13-year-old puts their trust in her.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's talk about, first of all, the violation of the 13-year-old, because regardless of what you want to think, and I said this before, growing up, if as boys, and Michael could attest to me, and any other guy that's going to listen, we'd be like, man, I had a teacher that I'd like to bag, or it was because we were immature boys and we never really saw it from the psychological side and that aspect. But it's outright wrong that a 31-year-old woman would take advantage of a 13-year-old. What do you guys say about this?
Well, you'll have two arguments. You'll have the people that say, "Oh, he wasn't innocent, and he knew what he was doing," and that makes me cringe, because at the end of the day, he has had 13 years of experience on this planet. 13 years ago, he did not exist. So you mean to tell me that somebody with 13 years of experience, and I say this all the time, and 5 years were developmental. Trevor, you do the math because my math don't work that quick. You minus 13 from 5.
So that's 8.
You are really dealing with an 8-year-old mind of being to really able to calculate input, output, respond appropriately. And so he was manipulated. He absolutely was manipulated. And it's the same thing with sex trafficking when their victims are groomed. Predators groom their victims. Absolutely no doubt about it. So there had to have been a period of grooming, because you know that it's wrong. And you know that this child looks at you from a place of admiration and respect, and you take advantage of that. So at the end of the day, she is a sexual predator. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I was so disturbed about this plea deal, because I know where you're gonna go next. Go ahead.
Yeah, so let's talk about the plea deal. So she was able to get a plea deal where she won't face any jail time. So a defense team had to come together
Mm-hmm.
and say, all right, let's come up with this deal. And then a judge had to sign off on this
Mm-hmm.
to say, like, okay, we're going to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the hell is this? Like, are we living in some type of fantasy land that the people in authority positions don't see that this is outright wrong? Like, what's going on here? Where are we as a society now that this is okay? Because had it been a man,
Oh, and that's
I
what
mean,
I said. I know you was gonna go there.
we got it, and we had to go there, because had it been a man, he would have been under the jail. They would have had him in protective custody right now, because the inmates would have been after his head. But this woman gets to walk, and now you have a 13-year-old boy that has to prepare to be a father.
When I tell you, I absolutely felt the exact same way. If this was a man, think about, and you've already seen it. Like, we live in Broward. We've already had instances where male teachers were caught with female students, and there wasn't such a significant age gap. But when I tell you, they were blasted all over television, they were immediately arrested. There was no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So, it depends on where you are in the world. Let's be 100% honest. Because what state was it in?
This was Colorado.
Well, need I say any more? It depends on where you are. It really depends on where you are in the world. So, it's just very disturbing that they didn't see him. They didn't value him enough. They didn't see him as a child. And the only way you can make a decision like that, enter a plea like that, and hear that narrative and come to that outcome is that when I looked at that little boy, I did not see a little boy, nor did I believe he deserved to be protected.
So let me ask you a question.
I see. They.
Let's go back to what I said earlier. Growing up, we it would be us boys' fantasies
Mm-hmm.
to
It's a
to
culture.
to bag some of these teachers. So, and I got to play devil's advocate a little bit. Do you think the kid was like, does the kid face any blame in this?
But that's what I said initially. There is no way that I'm going to assign blame to a 13-year-old. I'm just not going to do it with his 13 years of experience soaking wet. Because it would be the same thing if in any industry circumstance we look for experience. Why is it that not relevant when it comes to life? That's why the juvenile justice system is set up the way that it is, that it's set up for rehabilitation and not punishment, because they understand that the brain is still developing and that person has not been seated in their proper mind yet. And so, therefore, there's a period of time, because we spent all 18 years educating them. If we really didn't believe this was a learning phase, we wouldn't spend 18 years educating children for them to go down a certain path and rear them to be a certain type of person if they weren't in the developmental age and able to make decisions on their own. So, I cannot and will not assign any blame to the 13-year-old. And I
Would it
might get
be
some slack for that, but I ask you, if you feel that he should be assigned some role or responsibility in what happened, I want to know what happened to you.
would it be different if he was 16?
He's still a child.
Okay, so again, because I and what she did is terrible. So don't get me wrong, but on this show, I have to play devil's advocate.
No, I hear you. And
Um,
I'm gonna be the opposite. What's the opposite of
and
devil's advocate?
you're the angel. You're the good angel. So okay. Let's just get down to brass tacks. This is a straight talk society, so we bring it right home. We bring it right down to what it is. Our kids today are over sexualized, and there's no way to put it, from the way they dress, from the things they see on TV, from the things they hear in music. Our kids are more ready for, they're not ready for sex, but they're more geared to sex than we ever were. And growing up in the 80s, we were some horny little kids, but these kids now are like a different animal. So what's to say that um the teacher may have showed some type of interest in him, and he didn't even like, because for a little girl, if a guy was to try to show some type of advance to them, they'd go tell their dads or they'd go tell their moms. Whereas this little boy, he probably went amongst his friends and was like, hey, such and such has been acting weird, because that's how they talk. These little kids now don't talk the way we did growing up. They'd be like, hey, part of my friends would be like, man, I'll F the shit out of Miss Such and Such. I'll do this and I'll do that. And then they build this up in their heads, and then they turn around and act on it. So I'm not saying the little boy is wrong, but what I'm saying is, in society today, these kids are different. These kids are we're dealing with a different animal here.
Right. So, Trevor, I'm going to definitely push back only because, and I'm only going to start at 1969, that the average age of marriage was 18 years old. So, if we got married at 18, when did we start courting?
Shit,
Right.
probably 13, 14, yeah, 13, 14, 15.
Right. So it's kind of like, okay, to assign a narrative that these kids, I'm doing quote and unquote, because I'm very sensitive about how we classify this generation. Because if we put them in a box and we say that they've progressed to this type of group within our society, then we alienate our responsibility and our roles in creating that. They are who they are because of us. We are the parents of this generation. When I have my clients talking about their child and saying this and I'm saying that, I'm like, you rear them. We have to be more reflective and ask, what are we doing? what is inconsistent with the parenting model that we have learned, and make some adjustments and take some accountability for these kids.
And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I remember growing up. I used to go to the Boys and Girls Club, and there was a particular counselor. So at the time, I probably was like 8 or 9, and she had to be 16 to 18. And I now I always noticed she was always extra friendly with me.
Really? Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and at the time, it didn't. I'm just like it kind of weirded me out, but because I'm like she's so much older than me. But you guys know me. I'm the guy that was looking at my dad's Playboys when I was like 7. So it's like it kind of weirded me out though. So that that has always been around, where these older men and women,
Yeah.
and we're not just singling
Right.
out
It
the
is.
women. It's just that the stories,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at more stories right now, and it's all women. But we know men are notorious for this. But I'm seeing a double standard, and I think like we help. What I'm saying now is probably what helps create that double standard, because I'm like, it might not be that bad because it's a woman. Because okay, let's look at it now. He's 13, she's 31.
Mm-hmm.
When he's
Mm-hmm.
18, that's 5 years, she'll be 35. Legally, they can get married. So when you look at it, I look at it as like, that's gross, but
Mm-hmm.
society doesn't look at it that way because it's a
Mm-hmm.
woman. It's like there was a VH1 show, I forget what it was, but there was this guy who was going to get married to a 16-year-old on TV, and he was in his 40s,
Mm-hmm.
and they just wouldn't allow her to be on certain scenes because there was alcohol present and stuff like that. But in some states, you can get married at like 16 with your parents' consent. So, like,
You can give your child away.
but where, like, what else? Where do we draw this line, man? Like, what do we do
But
when
Trevor,
we live in Florida?
that's making the assumption that anything is new under the sun. That's first and foremost. We live in a time where everything is magnified. And so, therefore, something that may have been prevalent all along, happening all along, it's just that we live in the informational age. And whereas before, that news circuit of that young woman and that young boy would have aired 3, 4 times and made its round, and that would be it. But with social media, it is going to be lived over and over and over again for as long as somebody keeps sharing it. So I am under the impression I nothing really takes me aback, and I don't know if it's because I wouldn't consider it being desensitized, but I am a realist. I know that we are human beings and we are nowhere near perfect, nowhere near 100% flawed. And so I do not make the assumption that any of this is new under the sun, because we've been in school, we have read history books. We know about a lot of things that has happened over time. When we talk about Egypt and how people were married, the multiple wives, the concubines, like, let's stop acting like all of a sudden, and it's because the introduction of Christianity and what is the idea of holy, and what justifies your action, what creates the culture of what is acceptable versus not. Or we can go like, let's stop pretending that we are this upstanding, noble society and we have all of these norms and everything is so great in America and this is how things are supposed to be. Because I absolutely tell everybody, if I was in Haiti, I would have been married at 13 with children, starting my family. Because it is the narrative and the belief system that we are so far removed from what we used to do. It's just that everybody can talk about it now.
Yeah,
Nothing has
well,
changed. People are still doing what they were doing back then under the shadows.
yeah, well, there you go. Everybody has an outlet now.
Right.
It's just like police brutality isn't a new
Mm-hmm.
thing. People just now
It's
have
not
cell
new.
phones. Everybody has cell phones now.
Right.
So now we're recording what's always been
Right.
going on.
Right. So nobody can deny it anymore. We can't live in our little shadow boxes and pretend that things are the way that they are. And in all actuality, you have to face the music. Like if you're having a child and your child is over sexualized as a parent, you need to figure out what's going on with that child. Do not call that little girl grown. Do not call him grown. You need to figure out what is it that child is being exposed to, that they are being, or they're acting out that way. Hypersexualization is real. And I think I talked about this with you before, is that biologically the body gonna do what it's supposed to do. It was created for procreation, to have sex, like the 2-year-old with the erection, right? A child that is 2-year-old will have a full erection because he's 2, and the thing gonna do what the thing's supposed to do. And it's not because he's horny at 2. So the body is going to do what it's supposed to do biologically. It is the mental maturity and what you explain and how you introduce it, and making sure there is a time limitation so that there is a level of maturity when you start engaging in this type of activity. But let's stop acting like we've been waiting until people were 18 to get with them. Stop it.
Well, yeah, and again, I mean, this is strictly just me playing devil's advocate, and I want to pause real quick right here to say peace to those of you in the chat. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and share the video out. You know, people are still getting used to seeing me on my own channel, so just, you know, help spread that word for you, boy. So what type of role? Oh, well, hold on. I want to get to another headline real quick. So here we have 25-year-old Destiny Hilsman, a Houston teacher at Holland Middle, was arrested and charged for grooming, texting, and kissing middle school girls. Here's another one. 34-year-old teacher of the year, Jacqueline Ma, arrested for alleged sexual abuse of former student. Here's another one. 31-year-old Connecticut married lunch lady arrested for having sex with a 14-year-old boy and sending him nudes. I mean, and the list just goes on and on and on. And I was just looking, one of the most notorious ones, and I was looking at it before we started the show. How many of you guys remember Mary Kay Letourneau? That I think that was a name we were trying to think of, but Mary Kay Letourneau is notorious for having sex with her 13-year-old. God, 13 must be the number.
It's the age of maturity. Back in the day, it was. Think about the bar mitzvah and the quinceañera. What is it called, right?
Yeah, because the
presentation of the woman into society, and the bat mitzvah is the presentation of the young man into society. A lot of this thing is religion. A lot of this is culture. But I think once we have, and I think, like I said, laws are here to, there are some laws that are put into place to box us in and not protect us. But at the bare minimum, certain laws were created as a protection for a certain subgroup of people because of, things reoccurring and happening that you can't get a kind of control of because it was rampant. So that's why the laws are put into place that, you can't be walking around here having sex with a 12-year-old and you good 45.
So Michael, I'm gonna drop the link. I'm gonna drop the link in a minute because he's saying he's pissed for another reason. So we know Michael's
Well, I think Michael always said that women are not held. They're not held accountable. They are not held accountable. They get to do what they want to do, and we don't treat them. Yeah, I know. I agree. There's a double standard. There's no doubt about it.
Michael's gonna come Michael it up, so we'll drop the link and let you do that. But so what I was gonna say, oh man, see, I be having these thoughts in my head.
You write it down.
Yeah, I gotta get used to doing that. But we do the parents hold any blame in this? Not for this particular situation, but just in general, because right now we're just talking about like teachers, authority figures in school, but you could bring it closer to home. You could talk about the amount of pastors that groom these young boys, and these pastors that use their power, their alleged connection to God to take advantage of these young girls and get them to do whatever they want to do. And I mean, you just see it. What is it with men and women in authority positions that they prey on kids? Like what let's go into that mindset. Like what causes them
that's
to do
narcissism. That? You think you think you are God's gift, right? let's look at it for what it is. Like that person is a narcissistic behavior for you to believe that about yourself. And I'm gonna go to the diagnosis. It's a personality disorder. Like, remember how I say, like, people genuinely have personality flaws. They have personality disorders, they have mental health issues. And I know Michael always get on me because he was like, you always see the problem, right? Like, I'm always going to point out, like, from a pathology standpoint, that just doesn't follow a normal pathology, unquote, quote unquote, like what is normal. But something's wrong with them. There's definitely something wrong with it. And mental health has been around for a very long time. We never used to call it what it was. We just used to say he crazy, don't talk, don't sit on cousin Joe lap. Like, there were just all of these rules and not calling things what it is. They got some issues. The brain is not braining.
So, okay, and this is where I'm gonna be Trevor. I always think the whole mental health thing is a crutch we try to use too often.
Is cancer a crutch?
And just
is cancer a crutch?
Cancer is a crutch. Is not a crutch, but we're not throwing that at everything. You can't.
No, we're not throwing it at everything.
Mental health.
When there's a diagnosis and a pathology, it has to follow a certain pathology, because the way that you arrive at cancer, and that's what I'm saying, people always do this with the brain because they can't see the damage. You can't see the damage of the brain. You don't wear it on the outside. So in order for me to get to a diagnosis of cancer, I have to follow a certain pathology. And we're not awarded with that with mental health because we don't believe it. Well, especially in the Black society.
Well, hold on. How many murderers and just downright evil people plead insanity just to get out of cases?
So there's no question that people.
Let's not act like that doesn't happen.
There's no question that people abuse it, but don't dismiss the fact that it exists and that it's real. It's real. It's a real thing. There's no question that people abuse credit cards. Doesn't mean credit cards are not real. People abuse alcohol. There's people that abuse it. They're going to use it to their advantage. They're going to be manipulative. They paid a defense to represent them to get out of it. They don't believe that what they did was wrong. And that's also something is wrong with that. But again, what are the norms, Trevor? What is the norms? They used to cut people's tongues out of their mouth in Egypt. Like, we just have evolved into this great group of people.
So because the punishments have eased up is why people people are doing this stuff.
I think what has happened is that, it's hard to say we want to progress, we want to get better, we want to evolve as a society, but we want to hold on to our old ways. I think, like everything else, as you learn new things, as you grow, you let some things go. You leave some things in the past because you can't keep progressing and holding on to the old ways of how you used to do things. So you give some to get some. And so, yeah, we've changed in our mindset and our concept. What we believe has changed. Just like science has changed for the better, it has also changed for the worse. We're living longer, but then we're eating junk because we have medicine for everything. Nobody wants to be accountable.
So let's bring this, and hold on, let me because I know Michael's probably chomping at the bit right now. I'm gonna drop this.
Send him the link, please.
I'm gonna drop this link in the chat right now. Michael, don't come up here and Michael it up, man.
That's like fuel telling him to do it.
We're having a nice flow. So the link is in the chat, Michael. Go ahead and hit the link whenever you get a chance. Anybody else want to jump on too? Just hit the link. The only thing I say, if you're new to the channel, I don't know you, you have to turn your camera on in the back just so I can see who you are. You don't have to have your camera on the panel, but just have your camera on just so I can see you. Just make sure you're not pouring bomb at me. I don't know who this is, but Dale Ossington, am I reading that right? Agree. Mm-hmm. Mental health is definitely a oh, see, so they're agreeing with me though. Yeah, mental health is people use mental health as a crutch, and it's okay. It's like this argument me and my friend, the executive producer of this show, Venkat, always have. the whole Chris Benoit debate. Whereas to me, Chris Benoit is a vile, evil piece of shit human being.
Yeah, I remember this conversation.
Yeah, you remember this conversation. But everybody, his fans are the ones that always try to throw in. Is that Michael? I can't see you, Michael. And his fans are the ones that always try to throw in this this CTE thing, which they didn't find out until after the fact, because that was just a crutch to say, oh, see, he wasn't that bad of a person. See, Uncle Chuck that everybody knows is a piece of shit, that you really aren't supposed to be leaving your kids around, you know, but it's just Uncle Chuck.
I don't think that the diagnosis dismisses it. I think the diagnosis explains.
Mikey, hold on. Michael, you gotta do something about that, Mike.
The diagnosis doesn't dismiss, it explains. Remember, just like you say, like you like talking and we have these conversations because I don't automatically assign a clear pathway and say that's it. I'm not saying that it dismisses the personality disorder. It dismisses what that person does, but it informs. We know what to do better. They know what to look for. They know that some characteristics and behavior are correlated with this type of disease. So now when the next person that has boxed all their life start displaying these certain characteristics and this certain behavior following down this certain line of pathology, then it helps us explain why we are where we are. You shouldn't be abscond from what you've done. Like, you don't get a pass because, you know, we are a society that hold people to, you know, the fire. But it explains. I'm not saying that it dismisses. It explains the why.
So, all right, let me see. Is this?
Michael? Can you hear us?
Michael, you good now?
Nah. Are you on the computer, Michael?
Nah, he's.
Better make sure you're on the computer, not a phone.
No, Michael, I'm gonna move you to the back, Michael. You got to get that taken care. You gotta get to a better spot. So let's go right back into our community though, because this is something that we don't talk about enough. You know, you have the uncles and there are some aunts that they're the aunts that, you know, they're the extra friendly aunt.
Right.
But we never talk about it. Like we don't
talk about sexually abuse, period.
But so let's do it. We got time tonight. Let's do it.
Right.
Yeah, Michael, go out and then come back in. Just leave the stream and come back in.
Mr. Saunders says, try me again, 9989.
Yeah, that's Michael. That's Michael.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Michael. So we never talk about the sexual abuse in our community, and why is that?
Well, I think it's the secret, right? Nobody wants to talk about the problem. We don't want to talk about what's wrong or what we see it as filth, you know, because, you know, sex in our community is not regarded as something to be celebrated. You know, you're taught from, depending if you're religious, that if you have sex before marriage, that you dirty and you're a whore and a slut before God. Like, your association with sex is guilt. So I'm not going to talk about it at all. And people don't talk about it with their children, because, like, how many people can honestly say that they my daughter, we had the sex talk when she was asking, when do you have the sex talk? When do you explain to your children that nobody should touch you here? And you know that this is your vagina and this is your penis. Don't call it no pocketbook and no shoo and no poo. If that's a vagina and that's a penis, call it what it is, so that when somebody starts touching it, they know how to report it. Because if you call it a pocketbook and they hear over here that it's called a vagina, that might not be the same thing. No. When are we having the sex talk first and foremost? Because
let's talk about that. Sex. So when is the right time to have that conversation?
When they ask.
I mean, because I have
now it has to be age appropriate. Like, there's this misconception that when the child asks about sex, that I'm supposed to lay all on the table. Like, we're going to talk about everything, the full gamut. No, it has to be age appropriate. So at the first moment that they start asking about it, you start teaching them about their body parts. Right? That's how you introduce the conversation. You teach them about their body parts. They have to know what they are now in possession of. Because
that's you knocking on the table.
Pardon?
That's you knocking on the table.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no. I just wanted to make sure you get passionate. I know. I do it too.
I've learned not to clap. But yeah, when they start talking about it, and then make sure it's age appropriate, because if you're not really good at it and you're not sure how to start, there are a million books out there to help you get started. There should be no reason why you have not talked to your children about sex. And you know, a lot of people are waiting for the school to do it. Wrong. Like the school can dive in as they get into sex ed, but you need to have that conversation with your child.
Michael, unmute your mic. But do you think we put too much onus on the school to
yeah, absolutely,
to raise our kids as far as when it comes to sex? Because yeah, I remember the sex ed class growing up. Hell, we were in the
sex. You have that conversation with your parents or your dad?
I had it with my dad. Like me and my dad, like an open book. I could talk to him about anything.
How old were you?
Oh man, I told you I started looking at his Playboys when I was about 7. So I think me and my dad probably had the real conversation right in middle school, right in the beginning of middle school. So what would that put us at? Like about 10?
You're 14,
10, 11?
11, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. 1990. Yeah, 1990, 91.
11. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so around that time. But again, I'm a boy, so it's
not. Oh, you're a boy. It doesn't matter.
Here we go.
It's not because you're a boy.
Here we go. It's easier. I think it's
not easier. It is the same. So what? The girl shouldn't have the conversation.
Well, as a dad, like I wouldn't try to have that conversation with my daughter. I'd defer that to my wife. Honestly,
right, absolutely, because your wife is there.
Exactly.
But if you are a single father with girls,
then I would have to do it. But I'd be, you see how I'm scratching my neck? I'd be kind of like.
Did Michael get his mic right?
I don't know. He didn't unmute himself.
No, I didn't want to mess up the flow you guys are going.
Oh no, you sound good now. So jump in.
All right. As far as when to have the conversation, I'm with Leah, age appropriate, but I know I have to be there. Even though I have a daughter, I have to be there. I can't trust anyone to tell my daughter anything that I'm not going to be there to verify or to be able to speak against. I would rather myself and my ex sit down, and we're pretty good at that, sit down and discuss with her about that. Her mother has, the little cute names because they're Spanish, but I'm me. So I'm like vagina penis. Like I don't play that game. And I let her know if anybody other than grandma or mom or me touches your vagina, it's a problem. And I shouldn't be touching your vagina because you're grown. You could take a shower yourself. So there's no need for me to touch it. And then she thinks it's funny, but I'm like, what did I say? And she's like, not even daddy shouldn't touch it. I'm like, you're damn right. I have the conversations with her. I'm going to talk to her because I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. Nobody sat me down and spoke to me. I learned maybe I learned the hardest way possible.
Oh, shit.
But nobody really taught me. By the time my mom had a conversation with me, it was, do you know what a condom is? And I think I said, isn't that where rich people live? And she said, no, that's a condom. And she said, no, contraceptives. And I said, oh, you mean a Jimmy? And she said, what's a Jimmy? And then I went on a tirade about condoms, the feeling, where the sperm goes, the type of spermicide. And she just looked at me like, okay, apparently I've lost my child. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, you should have had this conversation with me when I was 6. Anyone that's known me knew I was going to be pervy. If you knew me I was 2 years old, I was going to be that way. So I say have the conversation when you realize your kid is
pervy or curious. Like, it's curiosity. Like, I always try to get on Michael with these negative connotations that he assigns himself.
All right, I'll say this. Actually, no, I don't want to put Trevor in those weird positions. I'll say this: to me, curiosity is the thought or the want to see or the experience or to think something through. What I was doing was thinking it and then trying to find a way to get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like I was in first grade at the timeout table trying to get girls to show me stuff at the table. Like I was pervy.
So and you think you were pervy because you were introduced? Like what do you think? What was your first? Well, I think we talked about. I think your first introduction.
Yeah, you know why I was pervy, and we're not going to get into that on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and so that goes back to the conversation when I said earlier that, you know, when your child is displaying a certain behavior, it's for you to be curious about it and ask questions and figure out the origin, because you know they didn't show up that way. And you, the parent, need to pay attention.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Right. And I'm telling you, I get so mad at parents. I hold parents to such a high standard. And I tell people all of the time that I come into contact with, your child did not ask to be here. You are the parent. You decided to take this walk. You better suit up and get ready for this journey. You do not get a pass. Do your work. You're a parent.
I thoroughly agree.
That's what's wrong with this, you know, this generation. People aren't interested in parenting. They're trying to live their life on TikTok and show their glamorous lifestyles and all become social media influencers, and they're not parenting. That's a whole nother straight talk.
What if they never had a good example?
No, absolutely. You didn't have a good example. But once you made that decision to become a parent, there is an opportunity to learn. Nobody's too old to learn, especially if you realize that stuff is not working or you're having a difficult time. People are afraid to ask for help because
you know what?
The energy that you put into becoming your best self at whatever is important to you. If parenting was something that you decided and you wanted to take that journey, find the resources so that you can do it better.
I shoot that down because what you said, Trevor, because even people who had horrible parents know exactly what they don't want to be, and knowing what you don't want to be is literally showing you what, at least I know this is blacked out. I'm going to be in this area. You know where you shouldn't go. Mm-hmm. You know you should show up. You know you should be there. You know you should talk to your kid. Like I tell people all the time, my stepfather was a provider type parent. He wasn't a, hey, come here, let me show you how to do this. He wasn't that. And because of that, I am the exact opposite. Like I'll get the money or whatever, but I'm the type that's gonna find a show that my kid likes, or I'm gonna find out what the kid likes, and I'm gonna get in there and I'm that dad for that reason. So even if you didn't have the perfect parent to show you, you had a blueprint of what you don't want to do, which is the beginning of the road you want to take. Now, if you guys would allow me, I would like to go back to the beginning of the conversation where I was initially enraged. And I want to say two things that pissed me off. One, of course, me a guest. The infantiling of women by our society disgusts the hell out of me. This woman only got that plea deal because most men and women consider women children. And that's, nothing bothers me more. I don't want to marry a child. I want to marry an adult. And if the woman I'm marrying can't be equal with me on some certain footings, what's the point? Society makes women feel like they're children and they can just, I don't know. And they'll just wink their eye and it's like, she didn't mean to sleep with that 13-year-old. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? Like, I don't understand it. I'll never get it. But that's one thing. The other part is where you were saying about people in power. That if you see how police, congressmen, anybody in politics abuses their power, if you can look at a criminal and say a what do you call those, a CO sleeping with an inmate is automatic rape, if that's on the books, then explain to me why it's not automatic rape in this instance. There shouldn't even be the ability for there to be a plea deal. She raped a child. She should go to jail. As a child, they tell you.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing with you because, like, what the hell judge signed off on that?
Right.
Gosh,
Right. But like I said, it started with the fact that when that judge looked at that little boy, he did not see a child.
If you are a little child, you cannot be in a position where you can give consent.
Mm-hmm. Michael, you were doing so well.
Come on, man.
I think I was watching something. And I can't remember what it was. And the lady was like, "Oh, my child would never be a prostitute," right? Because the adult man got caught with a young teenage girl that was sex trafficked, and so, you know, the mom, when she was confronted by the father, because the man was married, she said, "Oh, well, my child, you know, would never be a prostitute." And the response was like, children can never be prostitute because you have to give consent, and child cannot give consent. When they talk about child prostitution and, oh, you know, children that are out there, trafficking themselves, like, it has to be like you draw the line in the sand and hold the adults responsible for their behavior, because it starts with them.
Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, I was just repeating it while I got your mic right.
Yeah, you were breaking up.
Oh, the mic was messed up. I thought you guys were like not liking what I said. Oh, okay, my bad.
Nah, man, you gotta get you driving or something?
Yeah, I had to pick up my baby wanted some fall off the bone beef ribs.
Oh.
Oh, where is fall off the bone beef ribs? But
hey, my baby get what she wants.
I don't even think they sell it down here.
Let me ask you a question, because I just thought about this. My wife was watching a movie past couple of days with Fancy from Jamie Foxx, and I didn't watch it. I mean, I was catching bits and pieces of it, but from what I got, the couple minutes that I gathered, it's another thing that goes on. We talk about protecting our children, the amount of Black girls that go missing, and it seems like nobody gives a damn about it. So in the movie, her daughter went missing, but at the same time, a white girl was missing. So all the media resources,
truth be told, I know exactly what you're talking about,
were being put towards the white girl, and Fancy basically had to do her own search for her daughter. Like, from like I say, I didn't watch it all, but what I was watching, I was like, ugh, this is terrible. Like, to have the news media tell her that, maybe your story is just not sensational enough type thing. You know, it's not, yeah, man. And then that whole, they got to be missing for what, 48 hours or, I mean, like, we have a complete disconnect, man, the way our Black kids are treated compared to their white counterparts when it comes to, like, them being sexually abused, when it comes to them being abducted. And I don't even know, I don't even know where to begin to say, like, where could we start? Like, where could we start to fix this? I just don't know.
Hey, one of the greatest comedians of all time, Patrice O'Neal, said, if I ever want to make sure that I get rescued if I'm trapped at sea, I'm going to make sure I'm going to have a white baby on the keychain. Because that's the only way they're going to come for me, and that's a fact. America, hey, just like they were getting mad at me the other day saying that white supremacy will always win, hey, there's a reason. They will always change no matter what. First, it's we have to protect our kids. But in secret, it's really we've got to protect our white kids. It'll be, what's the thing that's going on right now in the NFL? That thing with Lamar Jackson. It's we're a meritocracy. Everybody is rewarded for their merit for what they do, and then it's like, oh, except for the Negro that throws the ball. Like, no, we're gonna find everything wrong with him, and they'll never get in trouble for it. Just like they didn't get in trouble for Kaepernick, even though it was proven what they did. They're always gonna move the goalpost. So
that is true.
Like they'll do two or three little news reports about a missing Black girl, and then it'll hit the back page. When it's a white, you remember Natalie Holloway? It was on the news everywhere for months, and they searched and they spent tax dollars for months, and they had planes and helicopters searching the ocean. They was on Google Maps. They was on everything looking for this little white girl. Black girl get missing. You remember the Black girl had to chew her own way out to escape the captors? That's what we get.
Dale, this is Dale to this Dale person in chat. I agree with Michael, and it's also a double standard. People in power abuse their statutes a lot. The judges are disgusting with it, and when it comes to their sentences, if you want to come on, I just put the link in the chat. You could come on because you've been typing in the chat a lot. So first of all, I welcome you over to Straight Talk Society. Hope you come back. We're going to be running all type of shows on a weekly basis. But yeah, Michael, I agree with you, especially with that that Lamar Jackson thing. This is disgusting the way they're doing him, in that contract where they just gave Daniel Jones of the Giants 4 years, $160 million, and Daniel Jones is a terrible player. And Lamar is just asking for like $200 million guaranteed, the same thing that they gave Deshaun Watson, who, oh, by the way, has like 22 sexual misconduct charges against him. So
26.
It's 26. It's ridiculous, man. It's
you guys know there's a double standard. We live there. So there's a double standard for people in power, and there's a double standard for race.
And that's why I say the thing about white supremacy, because look at police. Police will abuse the law, arrest you, and get found that they lied. Like, matter of fact, I saw a thing where a police officer lied on a ticket and said that he breathalyzed a woman and that she blew whatever. And then because of that, her license got suspended. They found out that she didn't blow. So he goes, "Oh, I made a mistake. I thought that she blew." And they're like, "But she didn't blow." "Oh, I miswrote." And because of that, she got arrested. They said her license was suspended. So then they were going to put her in jail. And nobody cared about her. They were just like, "Oh, well, she should have been driving." They were like, "But she didn't blow. She blew zeros. Like, if she did, she would have blown zeros. She wasn't drunk. There's no proof." They just go, "I don't know." And the prosecutor just says, whatever. It took a judge to come out of nowhere and say, "This is wrong. I'm going to stop this." And then within, I think, 4 months, he was off the bench, because that's what they do. You try to be a good cop, they're gonna bad cop you until you get out. You try to be a good judge, they're gonna get you out. You try to be a good lawyer, you'll make no money. That is the world we live in. It does not pay to be good.
But I'm gonna push back on that, Michael, because if that was true, then it would be systemic across the board. Like, if there weren't any instances, because I always say I believe in the 100% rule. If we can't say 100% of the time that it doesn't pay to be good, then yeah, we would be a society going to hell in a hell basket, gasoline draws, and all that. But that's not true. It's not 100% of the time. There are good people. There are people doing the right thing. There are people that are constantly working to move the needle. And if we don't believe that, because that's what they want us to believe, we talk about the vocal minority of where, if they paint the narrative that this is what it is, the more people, y'all saw the insurrection. You have seen Trump when he became president. Like, you have to push out a certain narrative, because unfortunately people do not think for themselves, and you push that out and you play that on loop. And you do. It's kind of like hypnotizing, brainwashing, whatever you call it. But that's what they want us to believe, that we're not progressing. We're not this. We're not that. Yes. Are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. Are we where we were? No. Can we do something about it? Yes. But don't nobody go out to vote. Nobody wants to really exercise their right to vote. People don't believe that their vote count. And we talked about this also, about how it affects you in your backyard. There's so many topics here, but you're not going to take us down this rabbit hole. We're going back to this statistic and talking about sexual abuse, and we will save this for another Straight Talk.
I would like to state that she went on her own rabbit hole. I didn't have to pull you there. You were going on your own.
You digged in. I looked down there and I'm like, 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused.
You want to follow me. Come on down.
1 in 4 girls are sexually abused. 1 in 33 men are sexually abused. 1 in 11 Black men are sexually abused. 1 in 13 boys are sexually abused. Like, we Like you said, there's 42 million survivors of sexual abuse. Until we start having straight talk sessions and talking about sexual abuse, really doing something about it, just like when there was the epidemic of teen pregnancy, they drilled down, they pushed into schools, they created curriculum, they make sure they, in the 90s, when everywhere you turn around, it was a pregnant teenager. And so if we're going to address the issue, we have to address the issue, and we have to do it for ourselves. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to fix it in our society. The churches need to stop being quiet. We need to have these conversations at the dinner table. Mom is not the word. We need to talk about, let's talk about, no, I don't know if that's the right song.
Bar. I love it. Yo, I so wish that I had your positivity, sweetie. I do. I hope that you're right and I'm wrong.
I know.
I really do. But I don't see it. Just like
I know you do see it, because the way that you are raising your daughter and what you believe, that the good that you are pouring into her, that is a viable reason to even invest that energy. Because if you didn't believe it, you would have said fuck parenting, because of what happened to you and what you've experienced and all of the trauma that you've done. So the glimmer of hope that exists, it is in her eyes. Every time she opens her eyes, every time she says daddy, every time that she believes and knows that when she calls, you're going to show up, you are doing it.
That was dirty. That was dirty.
I know she hit. Hey Mia, you hit below the belt just there.
That was dirty and underhanded.
Let me ask you this question for and y'all in the chat, man. I appreciate all the messages. Y'all please hit that like and share and subscribe button.
Dale is a genius.
Let me ask you a question. For every Michael and myself, dads that are actually doing it for their daughters, because we have young daughters and are raising our daughters. For every two of us, what about the other 10 that aren't doing it? Like, how do we stay positive when you're looking? It's almost like, I always like to use this example. When I worked at a company one time, the GM of that company was so terrible. I'm like, he really runs the company like a coach that's down by 4 touchdowns with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Now all of a sudden he wants to just start throwing. You'll never win that type of game. So when you see somebody like me and Michael, we're doing our thing and we're trying to toe the line and be good dads, but then you have all these other guys like leaving their kids and just making constant babies. God, I just saw a video the other day where a guy had like, what was it? 7 different, oh God, I wish my cousin Kevin was there to tell me, but seven different babies from 7 different women.
Right, but let's stop acting like that's new too.
No, but hold on. And his thing was, they knew I didn't want the baby. I'm like, so for everything that you're championing, being there's still good in people, you still have a bunch of shit pushing back against us.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but why is your default setting that is 2 out of 10? Like, I always say that. I was like, I am not denying. Like, I told people all the time. The first time that I even realized that, that there's a lot going on in this world and there's some stuff going on that I didn't necessarily wasn't exposed to, is when I joined the military. And I was like, oh my God, there are really evil people in this world. You know what I mean? Like, people that were just shitty people, and so I don't disagree with you, but I have to choose that my default setting is not going to be that that is 2 out of 10. Like, I don't believe that. Like, you can make the choice. Is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? So it's not, it's a reprogramming. It's the belief system, because I did this. Like, this is completely unrelated, but it was like a experiment for me. Like, I got my nose pierced and I wanted my nose pierced for a very long time. But when I tell you, I could not stop hitting it and banging it. And I said, I wonder if this is the law of attraction, right? Of me overemphasizing, over focusing on my nose ring, that I welcomed all of this turmoil. It just would not heal, Trevor. But that was because that was what I was focused on. I put all of my energy into protecting that nose ring that was actually attracting the opposite. So what are you putting out there? There's no question that there is going to be a countermeasure. There is always a yin and a yang. There's no question about that. But what are you going to choose? What's your role? What road are you going down? Because even you doing this podcast, you chose to do something different than what is being done out there, because we talked about YouTube being toxic. I'm gonna keep coming for y'all. I'm gonna keep coming with the positivity. Y'all know y'all always
listen. I've been talking you up for so long. I've been talking you up ever since I decided to come on over here. So we welcome it. Like whatever. I keep telling them, like you keep me and Michael sane a lot of times, like because we be ready to go off and just kill everybody. But
ain't no hope for the youth and the truth, and there ain't no hope for the future.
You get me name called. They call me Pander Bear because of her.
you be bringing it right back around, like nah. Y'all gotta. So okay.
Hold on, sir. I need one statistic to get out there because you said it earlier and I ain't really like it. Black fathers are we have the highest percentage in our kids' lives of all races.
I never said black father though.
I know, but I'm saying
you heard black father. I never said black father.
I'm saying black father. Bump you.
So
saying black fathers, we are the highest percentage of fathers by race in our kids' lives. Because I know there's that narrative out there that daddies ain't never with their kids and daddies don't never this and daddies don't never that. Mm-hmm. Trust me, black fathers, whether they're married or not, are in their kids' lives nowadays. We've seen what it is to not be in your kid's life, and we have stepped up to the plate. So I want to say, and this is as of in the 2015 or maybe later, but they haven't done another study since then. So we're still in the lead until they do another study. Go black fathers, we love you out there. Keep it going. We're gonna make sure we raise a nation of G's and non-thotties. Keep it going.
But let me piss Mia off right now.
You're not gonna piss me off because I'm ready.
Let me piss her off right now. But 72% of black women are unwed. Like as far as mothers, 72% of black babies are from unwedded parents. You know that, right?
You're not gonna piss me off.
So you know that, right?
I wanna first talk about Thinking Black. We're wanting to focus on one.
So he loves you enough to put a baby.
So I'm just trying to keep us on. We can go to that after we talk about this. I'm ready, but I had to bring Michael back. Like we're gonna try to stick to one topic and really focus on it, because I've talked to you about the single parenting and why black women are not married, and I don't support it because there's a whole narrative around that. We dated back to slavery. We went through slavery. We went through child support. We went through child support. We went through the war. We went through the Industrial Revolution. There was a lot. We went there about, yes, we are at a point. We are at a crossroad where black families are suffering. And again, if we're not talking about it, to address it, to do something about it, pretend that it's not happening, it's only going to get worse. Like Thinking Black says, but why are we wanting to focus on 1 and 4? Discussing it is about contributing to it. No, if your child can't read, you not talking about your child that can't read doesn't help them read. You have to face it, address it, talk about it, because it is the secrets that kill us. It is the secrets that keep reappearing and remetastasizing and showing up later on because nobody is talking about it. You're sitting up here thinking that you're isolated and you're alone and it's only happening to you, and you're sitting at a table of 6, and then when you start opening your mouth and talk about it and you realize all of y'all getting molested at the table, then now we're going to do something about it. That's what the talking about it is. It's not glorifying it. It's not making it a focus point. It's about addressing it. Black people like sweeping things under the rug. We have done that historically as a family.
Mia!
Vancat, I need a bomb sound effect.
I was just thinking that. We need to get a button for her.
I need a bomb sound effect ASAP. I know you'll have it to me by tonight.
Mia!
And Thinking Black, that was all said with love.
I
ain't had no love. Bump all that. We gangster.
Thinking Black, I know Thinking Black ain't gonna come on the panel, but Thinking Black, come on the panel, man. Bust your YouTube cherry. Come on the panel. You don't have to have your camera on.
He said you don't have to show your face, Thinking Black. And I think the robust conversation the robust conversation is what we need. I mentioned to Trevor, I was like, when we come on and we do these type of topics, you know, I said, shout out to all of the places that are, you know, highlighting the celebrities and having them on talk shows. But I need some real life conversation, things that are like on the ground, really impacting people day to day, where we can really do something and try to address the issues and move our communities forward. Like, we got to do something, and nobody's coming to save us.
I like that you keep bringing that up, that because I think
Superman
y'all
ain't coming.
Y'all always know in my talking points, I'll shoot down the savior all the time, man. Because Black people, we always looking for a savior. Like, instead of just dealing with our own stuff head on, we're always looking for a savior. And so I wholeheartedly agree with you. We got to save ourselves, and because ain't nobody coming to save us. Martin's gone, Malcolm's gone. Nobody's coming to save us. It's done. Nobody's coming to save us. We got to come together to save ourselves.
And if another Malcolm comes, another Martin comes, they're gonna shoot him in the head too.
Man, that's a whole segment about how they take out the people that have the potential to move, that have voice in our communities.
Oh yeah.
And you know, like, I didn't, you know, I was raised in a very strict household, and, you know, we were very religious. And, you know, now as an adult, I go back and I listen to some of Tupac's lyrics, and I was like, Tupac was preaching. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, literally dropping knowledge, you know, whatever his form was. But like, if we're having, you know, maybe it was overpowered by all of the other messaging. But I think it goes back to the people producing and in charge of the record labels, of when he was able to put out what he wanted to put and sing the songs that he wanted to sing. He also had to put out 4 more, you know, like he had to for the one good record he put out, he had to put out 4 that didn't align with him telling the truth.
Yeah, because because for every Brenda's Got a Baby and Dear Mama and Life Goes On, you have I Wonder Why You Call You Bitch. You got Ambitions of the Writer. You got all that stuff. So, but I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been making a point on YouTube for like the past 2 or 3 weeks, and seems to be a losing battle, because people only see people and they're like, oh, I hate that person, so nothing good can come from them. Can't good and bad. You can get hot and cold water out of the same faucet. Good and bad could come from both, from out of the same person. So a person could do something that's really good, but then they could turn around and do something that's really bad. You use the example of Tupac. Tupac has some of the most inspirational songs, but then you'll turn around and he's talking about smashing somebody's old lady. Like I mean, at some point, my cousin always told me, you know, I take the good and I don't listen to the bad. Like, I take what I can get out of something, what'll help me, and then I just, you know, I don't have to listen to the rest. And that's all we're saying. That's all we're saying here, and especially with anything we say. I mean, because you're not going to agree with us 100%, but I mean, I think we've said enough good things here tonight that'll at least start some conversations, get some conversations going.
Well, sorry to be on the negative tip, because, you know, that's where I live. But there's no such thing as good and bad. There's no such thing as good and bad, people.
So there's no yin and yang, Michael?
Huh? There's
no yin and yang?
Oh, no, there is a yin and yang. There's a balance. But there's no such thing as, because at any given time, all right, somebody could do good. It's easy to do good when there's no pressure on you. The only time you can see a real person is when the pressure's on, because I know people that will make the right choice every time if they have $1 million in their pocket. Let them not know where their next meal is coming from, and then we'll see if they're good or not. It's easy to be good when there's no stakes.
Michael, that doesn't make any sense, because
how does that not make sense?
You're saying that there's no good and bad. So the guy that sells crack to his community and kills them and turns mothers into whores, right? That's bad, right?
He doesn't see himself.
Answer the question. Is that
I am
bad?
Answering the question.
Is that bad? Is that bad?
Society says it's bad.
Fuck. Yeah, here we go. Whatever.
Society
That's
says
bad.
it's bad.
No, don't try to turn that around and just.
I'm not turning nothing
narrative
around. You know what? Let me answer the question. Society says that's bad. The law says that's bad. His children who are eating because he's selling this crack says it's great. His wife at the house who ain't got no money, who he bringing and he feeding the family, they say it's great.
Right, but isn't that good and bad?
That's good.
That's what I'm saying. There's no such thing as good or bad. I didn't say
you're not saying that it's that the either or is simultaneously happening, that it's a balance, that the person has the potential to display both.
Exactly.
Like a correlating behavior.
Isn't that what I just said?
No.
Michael will legit agree with me, but just because he wants to say it the way he says it, then he got to take you all around the damn runway. No,
you're not doing that over here, buddy. If you know how to train, then get on the train.
You're not doing that over here, buddy.
Yes, I am. I got Hot Wheel tracks and everything.
I'm going to respond to Thinking Black because he says no hate here, but when Trevor said 2 in 10, you made it seem as if he talks too much about it. It wasn't that I was trying to make him seem like he talked too much about it. I was saying that if you can always see the negative in something, what is the potential for you to see the positive in something? Like, the default setting is that we live in a punitive society, and we are trained, we are conditioned to go left and see the bad and pull out the narrative that doesn't align with something that is beneficial to us. Like, when you sit down and you watch the news cycle, like people that sit there and watch the news all day, like, do you know that you are literally programming your brain, the hypersensitivity, to believe that the whole world is out to get you and that there is no good in the world, by sitting there and replaying that? The 6 o'clock news, the 7 o'clock news, the 7:30, then we coming back at 10 o'clock. Don't miss the 11:30, to say the same thing over and over again. So I'm saying, make the choice to turn the TV off.
Yo, if you're still watching the news in 2023, something is wrong with you.
Man.
Because the news is literally 4 different companies that put out the same thing. That's it. In all of America, it's like 4 to 6 companies that own every single local news, and they put out the same garbage. You can go on YouTube and look it up, where they'll actually have the exact same talking points from California to New York. It's the same thing. The news is just rigged bullcrap. So why deal with it? Deal with your real life.
Oh, that's a whole different topic too. How, definitely people are choosing to, live vicariously through everybody else on screen. Like we spend so much time watching other people live that we're not doing anything about it. I think we definitely need to do a segment about that. The consumption of social media and how it's taking over people's lives, and like you rather spend your whole day watching other people live than you actually living your own life. But getting back to the topic.
Well, hold on. I had a show planned a couple of weeks ago, but it kept getting pushed back. It was called The Unsocial Side of Social Media. So I think we like that title, Trevor. So there you go. Next Straight Talk Sessions, The Unsocial Side of Social Media is going to be done next week. Or whenever.
I'm gonna tell you the story about my ex-girlfriend when we do that one.
All right, go ahead. What you were saying, Mia?
No, so I mean, I think my question is always, what is stopping people from having the conversation? Because I'm always looking for the why. And I really want the listeners, the people that are actually listening, and really be reflective and think about what has stopped you from having the conversation about sex with your children, or just, being able to openly have a conversation about sex with your significant other. Like, why is sex in the word such a cliche? It's such a faux pas. And, like, where does that stem from? And, I think I talked about it. For me, church. Where it came from was from church, right? Yep. And that conversation that I'm dirty and in that I shouldn't be thinking this way and I shouldn't feel this way, and that my emotions are invalid of what I'm experiencing or how I feel at 13, 14. Like I like a boy and I shouldn't like a boy because, you know, I can't have sex before marriage. And if I do have sex before marriage, I'm going to hell. Like, I remember when I became a little older and I said, if they gave me the same message of protecting myself and saying that you're not mature for sex, and you do it around the parameters of safety and really explaining that, and not just the default, oh, you going straight to hell, then you don't carry around this guilt and shame about what you're feeling emotionally and physically, because you become dismissive of those things instead of asking questions and exploring that. So
I so agree. You have to demystify like sex as this like otherworldly thing, because that's the only reason we wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the little big kids come over, hey, we had sex over here. Oh, what was sex like? What was that? If you talk to your kids and you make it less of some weird taboo, and you're like, yo, the reason you don't do it is, and then you show them a picture of the blue waffle, this could happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta have, like, I'm gonna talk to my baby, like, not. I'm just, my bad. Go ahead, Mia. I'm sorry, my bad. Hey, that thing freaked me out forever, yo. I was, ooh.
Oh, shit.
Right. It's the conversations. It's definitely the conversations. We got to do better as a society, and have the conversations, age appropriate conversation. And like I said, the time that you the time that you start talking about it is when they start asking, because if they're asking you, they're also asking their friends.
And let's get out of our own way. I don't know why people are so afraid to talk to their kids, because they're embarrassed or they feel like it's going to be strange or it's going to be weird. Like, so what? Let it be weird. Get it out the way.
I think my problem is, you know, what I've realized, let's take a break. What I've realized, as I have counseled different people, is that, you know, parents do really walk around here like they shit don't stink. You know what I mean? Like, stop pretending that you were this wonderful child. Like, it's like, oh, I don't want to tell my child that I engaged in this type of behavior. I was this type of person, because I don't want them to follow down the pathway. In all actuality, like, you keeping a secret and pretending it doesn't happen and not talking about it, there's a likelihood that child will do it, because you're just not being honest with them with the experiences that you had. Like, you didn't wake up and come into who you are. This was a progression over time, and that you've made a lot of mistakes and you've learned from your mistakes, and this is what you want for them. Like, stop acting like you perfect. Like, that's what I realized. Like, I think I face a lot of that when I'm working with families, and say, you don't have to put on that you're perfect, and make your child believe that you didn't make these same mistakes. And again, it goes back to talking. We're not talking.
That is crazy, because I just had a conversation with someone we know, who I will not mention because Trevor will kill me. And
I'm probably gonna guess it, because every time you tell me somebody I know, and he doesn't tell me the name, I guess it.
Facts. But I just had a conversation with someone we know, and she was telling me how, oh, my fast little daughter, this and this, that. I can't believe she over here messing with. And I was like, boo boo, I went to school with you. You were 14 and had a dude that was out of school. Like, what are we talking about? Why don't you talk to your daughter and tell her that, and tell her why it was a mistake? Because every pretty girl I know that was 14 was dating a dude in college or riding the streets.
You know, we have had this conversation. Not every, again, automatic default, because I did not have a college guy, and I didn't even know I was pretty until
the only reason you didn't have a college guy is because you had Haitian parents. That's it. If you ain't had Haitian parents, you'd have been out there riding with us. Stop playing. You'd have been in my homeboy's Jaguar. Stop playing. Shout out to my dog D. You know what it is.
Mia, let me ask you a question, because we talk about like parents trying to act like their shit doesn't stink and they don't want to talk about sex with their kids, but they'll do everything else with their kids. Like, you see these women nowadays like doing dances with their girls. They don't realize that they are grooming their daughters. Like when you go on TikTok and you see these mother-daughter dances and they have their daughters dancing in these provocative type dances and they call it cute and they do it for the likes or whatever you get on TikTok, they don't realize what they're doing. They're putting their kids, they're advertising their kids in a bad way. So I don't think the issue is they're nervous or afraid to talk to their kids about sex. I think they just don't give a shit. Because of how they were.
Okay, so do you think that they're having the conversation? Because if we want to use that line of sorry, excuse me, I have a sick child. If we want to use that narrative, it is the same thing when, you know, my daughter get me all the time. Like I put on a song from our time, like pop that coochie, hey, pop that coochie, yeah. Like I was dancing to that. You could not tell me anything about Cat D coming, Cat D coming, Cat D coming.
Hey.
You could not tell me I'm gonna do the circle. I'm a pause. You know how you drop.
My knees still hurt.
So I don't know if I could use that as an example because we were absolutely there. There was music that we absolutely should not have been dancing to, should not have been exposed to, should not have been listening to. So I wouldn't use that contextually, but I think like pretending that your daughter is not at the age of maturity where she's curious about sex is the problem. Like you pretending that we doing all of this together. Like you said, we do everything together, but we not addressing this.
You know what? I think men see like the threat more than women apparently, because my mom and my ex, they love to put my kid in like bicycle shorts or tights or whatever and just go outside like it's whatever. And I'm like, my kid got a butt. So I need her to have
Michael, we're not gonna talk about that. The jeans made me more attracted or made me rape the girl. We're not gonna do that.
I did not say that.
No, that's not what he's saying.
Bicycle shorts, like
no, that's not what he's saying.
No.
What he's saying is what he's saying is women are easier to put their kids in like provocative clothing, but as a man, he's like, hold on, no. My little girl, I see she has a shape. I don't want her going out like that. Like my daughter, I don't want my daughter to wear. My daughter can't even wear. So yeah, we agree on. Oh shit.
Okay.
My daughter wears. My daughter has smaller clothes that she'll wear in the house. Like stuff that doesn't fit her good. She knows she can't wear it outside.
Right.
But when Daddy comes home, I always look at her like, go take that off. And she's like, but Daddy, I'm just wearing it on the inside.
I'm like at the edge.
That's like, how men. But
I definitely agree that there is, you know, when it's time to like go through your kids' clothes and say, you know, like this is a 5 and you absolutely 10 years old or 8 years old now, you definitely should not still be trying to squeeze that in. Like contextually, how you are having the conversation about her being now self-conscious about her leaving the house looking a certain way because it's unacceptable, because you're going to attract a certain level of attention, puts the onus on just her, right? Not that it doesn't matter, you know, the perverted men that exist in society, that if we even look at her in that form is the problem. So if we're talking about age appropriate dress, right? I'm just talking about how we introduce the conversation so that we don't give these little girls complexes. Because now I am afraid walking out the door because I'm not sure if I'm going to be approved of what I look, and now I'm hypersensitive about it, and I'm checking 3-4 times. Now I'm creating this monster subconsciously, not consciously. You're not doing it on purpose. So I'm just saying how we introduce the conversation, how we talk about it, of what is age appropriate dress, what Daddy's desire is for you, and how I want you to present yourself to society, so that she can start making those conscious decisions on her own and is not being policed by your approval or deny, because then you're teaching that narrative that a man, not any man, but his daddy, but that I need, like, I can't do it for myself. Like, they're always going to be like, I need to check. And it's just a default setting.
Hey, I love you very much, Mia. You've been
I
my
know
dog.
you're not gonna agree.
You've been my dog
I
for a
ain't going
long
for that
time.
shit.
You've been my dog for a long time.
I can't do that. Y'all not gonna do that to them little girls.
Baby girl, I'm sorry. The same reason I don't put like, oh, this is gonna be wrong. The same reason I don't like dress my cat up and send it to China and be like, hey, chill out, bro. You should leave my cat alone. My cat should be able to walk around freely around all these hungry people. The same reason I don't get a goat and put it in Jamaica and be like, walk around freely, goat. There's no reason somebody should bother you. I'm sorry. So if that makes it complex, I'm going to have to go ahead and build. I got some bricks, some mortar. I'm going to build that complex in my daughter. I'm sorry. Put that ass away until you got a man to defend it. I'm sorry. I hear you and I understand. But I'd much rather her husband go, man, the only daddy issue she had was her ass showing. I appreciate it, sir. And I shake his hand and go, you better take care of my baby and make sure my grandbaby do the same way. That's it. I'd rather have that conversation than have a thought that I got to worry about. I'm just saying. That's how I feel, personally.
No, I don't disagree. I always tell people, I don't tell you how to raise your children. I never tell people how to raise your children. I give, it's just giving both sides of the story. Like, hey, there is a possibility and there is a different way of introducing a topic and having the exact same outcome. But if we do it from this angle versus that angle, we minimize the things that we create within our children subconsciously, not even realizing that we were the ones that placed them there. That's all I'm saying.
I feel you. And if anybody has any issues with what I said, I have watched many a program where they bash cats in the head and throw them in boiling hot water and peel the fur off and eat them in China. So back the hell up off me. I said what I said. I don't apologize. Good day.
Oh my
gosh. Well, all right. So listen, we hit that 90-minute mark. That's my sweet spot.
This has definitely been exactly what we thought it would be. When we do this, when we put the three of us
listen, so you guys know we have a secret group. I have all these damn secret groups. We always talk about like ideas and topics and stuff like that. So this is like finally, outside of the podcast that we did, finally we're able to get out, on camera, and I promise you it's only going to get better. And you guys hear Mia's energy. Everybody's going to love her, and y'all know what y'all get from Michael, man. Michael's YouTube famous. Everybody loves Michael.
All I say is the truth.
So Mia, I want you, because I'm about to shut down the show. I didn't hit that 90-minute sweet spot. I want you go ahead and close out. Give us your website also.
All hearts and mind clear.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I want people to remember that at the end of the day, and I love this is my absolutely saying, it's going to be my logo, it's going to be everything that represents who I am and what I am as a therapist, is that we were placed on this planet to coexist with people. Not things, not places, not jobs, not podcasts, not Apple Watches, not cars, but people. So your relationships matter. How you start them, how you maintain them, and how you end them. Let's get back to the human experience. We are part of this complex society, and there are so many nuances that exist. But if we humanize this experience that we are walking with right now, this thing called life, we can just do better. I'm just asking you to do better. It's not going to get perfect. You're not going to have it, figured out. Let's just do better. Oh, and my website, www.anewway, and it's ANNEWWA. Look at it, I can't spell. ANNEWWAY.com. And just check out the possibilities, explore the possibilities of healing forward. You don't have to do it alone. There is a pathology, there's a way to kind of undo the years of trauma and not have to live this. You don't have to do it alone. Like they
Yeah,
want
that
to.
was all. That was nice and sweet. Everybody, my name is Michael, and I believe we need to be connected too. But in case a motherfucker step across the line, have a shotgun just in case.
Oh,
That's how I look at it.
You should
Habitual
let him
line
go
steppers
first.
get buckshot.
Yeah, I know.
You should let him go first.
No, because you the good, you the yin, and I'm coming with the yang. I gotta let them know. I want us all to be connected. I love everyone equally. I think we all deserve our rights, our privileges, our loves, our progression, our ability to move. But if you cross the line, I will shoot you in the chest for my baby. That's just how I go. Sorry.
I don't disagree.
You better not. You better come to the
disagree.
range with me.
All right, Mia, go ahead and finish because Michael rude
I
ass
thought you
cut
was
you
finished.
off.
My bad. I thought you.
Just be good to each other. Absolutely be good to each other. You have a choice of what you see and what you experience. And there are some harsh realities that face us every single day. So be the problem solver and not the problem contributor. Don't be part of the problem. And at the end of the day, if you can't help me, don't hurt me.
And if you can't solve your own problems, Glock has a brand new. All
Why?
right,
Why?
My bad.
All right, well, yeah, I thank you guys for coming up, man. I appreciate it.
Nini's like, never let Michael get the last word. He forces himself in there, Nini.
You damn right I do. I know y'all trying to box me out.
Thank you, Trevor, as always.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
All right, good night.
Good
I
night.
don't be
Good night,
saying all them
Michael.
thank you. Love, mama. I don't be saying all them thank you, so I'll holler at you.
All right, peace.
All
Bye.
right, be easy. One.
Well, there you have it. Another exciting episode of the Straight Talk Sessions, exclusively here over on the Straight Talk. I just got jumbled up exclusively here on the Straight Talk Society YouTube page. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's conversation, man. Like with those two, it's always a blast. Always. I mean, we have hundreds of messages going back and forth on a daily basis. It's just ideas that we throw out to one another. So you'll be seeing a lot more of them. And yeah. And like I said, it's only going to get better. Straight Talk Society is going to be what we make it. If you guys have any ideas for any shows you might want to hear, just drop me a line in the chat or whatever. We're open for any suggestions. We'll do anything. You can come on the panel and banter back and forth with us. I mean, we talk about anything. There's nothing that we won't talk about. There's no topic that if I don't know it personally, that I can't get somebody on that'll come talk about it. I do discuss religion also. I saw the apostle today and I started to ask him would he come on. I'm pretty sure he will. So be prepared for some religious discussions in the future. But I see my time is winding down. So as always, peace to all the new people in the chat. To Dale, I hope I do have a new subscriber and I hope that you do come back. Like I said, we'll be going live. I try to go live at least twice a week. Friday nights is this time slot for the Straight Talk sessions, but we threw in this show just because of this pressing issue. So hopefully you come back, man. You were very active in the chat and I appreciate it. Y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Let people know, spread the word. Because like I say, a lot of people are used to seeing me somewhere else. So they still haven't found their way over here yet. So y'all help get the word out, man. Help your boy out. So I'm going to leave you now. Until next time, I'll leave you with these words. Always seek out the truth for yourself, because if not, you'll fall victim to other people's interpretations of them. And with that, I say peace.
it's a must, you gon' respect this. Plus your nuts will touch the dust, you try to check this. You ain't insane, I write your name down on my checklist. You think I'm playing, I'll leave you laying, I'll leave you breathless. I'm not a heathen, please believe I'm breathing for a reason. Until I'm bleeding, really feeling this world is so misleading. Sacrifice your life at night while facing certain sorrow. Your existence is at stake, you might not make tomorrow. Lost my heart when I was crossed, don't wanna make amends. Much too smart, my afterthought, don't wanna make no friends. If you're a fraud, then it's so hard to get a second chance. You could die in front of my eyes, won't get a second glance. As human beings, instead of being so many try to be. You ain't seen what I have seen in my society. So F the killers, F the dealers, F the police. Middle finger in the sky till I die, no peace. Middle finger to the world, every man, every woman, every boy, every girl.
Always seek out the truth for yourself.